meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stentino?
Present.
Mrs. Fritz?
Here.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Ms. Gilch?
Here.
Ms. Gore?
Here.
Mr. Marks?
Here.
Mrs. Reese?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
I know what that is. Yes, ma'am.
At this time, we're going to do STAR students.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.
You're welcome.
I would like to let Mr. Tro facilitate the STAR students for the month of December 2023. Mr. Tro, good evening.
English Villanelle Board, members of the public, thank you for coming out tonight. This is an exciting time, each meeting, when we get an opportunity to recognize some of the work that our staff and students are doing in each of our schools. I know it's a busy time of year, so we appreciate everyone taking the time to come out tonight, and I will keep it short, and I'm going to pass it over to Mr. McCarthy and allow him to introduce individuals from Glendora Elementary School. And we have a number of certificates here that Mr. McCarthy will make sure that we get to our honorees tonight.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board and all the parents and staff members and everyone who's here this evening for having Glendora Elementary School here to be recognized. I would like to start off by calling on Ms. Liz Granato, our teacher, who coordinates our peer readers. And I'm going to hand it over to her as she will read a little bit about what our students are doing and call them up and something to recognize.
All right. One of the most special things about Glendora School is that we have a body of students who are incredibly kind and supportive of one another. We've recently implemented a program in which some of our 4th and 5th grade students have become reading buddies to some of our 1st and 2nd grade students. At the end of each day, they sit with their assigned buddy and listen patiently as our little buddies practice their reading. They encourage them and offer them guidance as our little ones tackle their reading tasks. The little buddies look forward to meeting with their big buddy each day, and those 10 minutes before dismissal are adding up to big gains in a fun and exciting way. The 10 buddies we chose to recognize as STAR students are not only fantastic big buddies, but they also demonstrate excellence in the classroom and throughout their day at Glendora School. Tonight we would like to honor Brooklyn Bernard, Liam Denana, Carly Grant, Macy Madeira, Charlie McLeod, Sophia Madeira, Khalil Fire, Evelyn Reed, Brielle Rupart, Isla Stiers. All right, and could you join me in one last round of applause for our
Pictures and stuff.
We're walking our reports. It makes me crazy.
That was an excellent example of work that our staff and students are doing, and we are not going to forget our host school here tonight, and I'm going to pass it over to the very calm, quiet, passive principal of Glen Landing Middle School, Keisha Jones.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Trout. What a wonderful opportunity to
put on stage our students and our staff and what they're doing. So thank you to the board for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Bilodeau, as well. So tonight we're going to shine a light on a couple of things that our Glen Landing staff and students are doing service-wise and also academically. Our Renaissance theme this year is blasting off to success. So how fitting for tonight to be about our star students. If you look on the smart boards here, we have a number of students that we're going to honor in different ways. Our first is Anya Upstons. Is she here tonight? Anya, come on up. So Anya, if you look on the board here, assembled 2 wooden cabinets, and she titled them Threads of Hope. In each cabinet, it is completely stocked with essential items that students may need, from toiletries to clothing, you name it, toothbrushes, all the essential things that students need. She did this out of her Girl Scout troop, and she took the time to purchase the materials. She labored to put it together. She made arrangements with Ms. Jones to get it in here. So we have a cabinet in our girls' locker room and in our boys' locker room for students to use and for years to come. Anya took the opportunity to also speak to teachers in advance because she's an 8th grader. She'll be leaving us to make sure that this continues by asking our Student Government Association to take donations for toiletries from staff, from students, from parents for years to come, so that Threads of Hope will stay at Glen Landing forever. So congratulations on the next group that I would like to highlight, they come from, I think our next one, can you go to the next slide for me, please? I'm going to make sure I'm on track here. Yes. Luciano Titoli and Cole Short, come on up. These 2 fine students don't want me to really speak. They just want me to give like a small introduction. They got their own presentation that they put together for everyone. And they are representing our exploratory program. One of the dynamic classes and courses there is robotics and innovation and technology. So these students put together, let me just stop there, they put together something and they want to talk to you about it. They came down, they made appointments with me, they wrote out a full 3-page speech. I said, not 3 pages, it's December, it's 4 meetings, 3 pages is a little long, but they're ready to rock and roll for their presentation. They have a video for you to watch as well. So take it away, young men.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for introducing us. Good evening, everyone. Before we continue, I hope you are well, and I'd like to thank you for letting us come out and present tonight. We'd like to present the project that we made in Ms. Monica's class, Robot Code, Invention, and Engineering.
We will not only just show our project, we will also explain each step and how we do it. We used the manual for our base of Spike Lego. The robot has features like a robot arm, a color sensor, and an ultrasonic sensor, which is another way of saying a motion sensor.
We needed to test each thing that we added to the robot. The arm, by building a small colored block that was big enough for a robot to move and drag the block. It was easy to test the color sensor. We took a piece of colored paper and coded a program for a robot to move forward until it detected color red.
Not only can it detect the color red, it can detect other colors of the Roy G. Biv spectrum. Once it detects a color, it will move back. It will start moving to where it will move back to where it started. We can change the last function. We can make it move. We can make it spin, move its arm, and even do a little dance, or even display an image on the screen. When we had to program the ultrasonic sensor, we got a big enough cone to be seen on the ultrasonic sensor. We made a maze to set up everything we learned. Now, we will now show you the video of our project, and we'll explain each step that was taken.
the important thing to note here, they have to take the time to learn the coding language, figure out the codes to make that robot move that way. So now they would like to know if you have any questions that they would like to take at this time.
Did Mrs. Jones help you in any way?
No.
That's why I knew that was rhetorical.
Their teacher is here, Miss Monaco, as well here, that helped them facilitate this and all of the And a final group that we would like to recognize tonight will be our library club. And that is this room that you're in right now. These students have worked hard this year to put together a warm and inviting location where students can come and reset, gather and get more books, but also where they can just come and enjoy games on the wall and be with each other during some downtime. So students, they after school, they recycle books, they take out the relevant books, but they also work really hard at making sure the library is a warm and welcoming place. So I'd like to bring up those students and recognize them. Vic Folly Linares. Devin Final. Janelle Sikorsky. And Lillian Villette. And again, these students remove books from circulation, create trailers for books, decorate the library with various themes, and maintain the games and other interactive activities that we have. So please join me in honoring all of our students.
We have one last presentation that Mr. Bilodeau makes annually to one of our students for a special recognition of around the holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Trope. Just to give a little context, several years ago, when I first became the superintendent, we received a beautiful holiday card from the Blackbird Pike Regional District. My colleague there, Dr. Rapisi, has very talented kids there. I said, we have talented students here, so the superintendent started a little program, and I wanted the middle school thanks, Gene, to have students do a holiday card. And so for the last 10 years, we've had students send in an array of cards. And I get the fortune and misfortune of picking only one. There's a lot of talented kids in all three of our schools. This year's winner is out of Ann Mullen Middle School. And before I bring her up, I just want to let you know that we first sent the card out to just the Board of Education, a few of the local, we sent it to the mayor, we sent it to the regional district to say, hey, we got a better card. And now we send that card to about 200 people. So it's kind of a cool thing. This is the original card, kind of dialed up, that gets sent out. And on the back of the card, actually it's sent, the student is Cianelli Colon. Is Cianelli here? If she is, you have to come up and claim the card. She's doing so much better tonight. When I came into her classroom to give her the initial award, she was a little bit starstruck, but anyway, you did a great job. And here is the card. You want to hold it? Okay. This is a certificate, Cianelli, from the Board of Education, and more importantly, okay, for intellectual property, which Mr. Long can explain, a gift card for you for all your fine work. So how about a round of applause? That's it. Oh, I forget it every month. Don't I, Mr. Joe? Before all of our STAR students leave, we do have a photographer, Mr. Umar, is setting up here. So please make sure with your family and with your administration, where are you going to set up, Mr. Umar? Over here in the corner and I don't know if there's anything left, but there was water and cookies there for the kids, Mr. Umar. And we're going to take about a 15-minute break. After 15 minutes, 10 minutes, there's a game. We're going to resume the board meeting in 10 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you.
7 minutes.
Yeah. Sit here the whole time?
She loves coming in. She drags me to like zoning and planning board.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Can I have a motion, please? Board minutes, regular, November 20th, 2023.
Second. Are we missing the?
Roll call, please.
They were regular ones. Ms. Stantino?
Was that change made?
Regular minutes.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Stantino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch?
Yes.
Ms. Gore?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell?
These are the regular meetings
Regular
for
minutes, yeah, I
20.
have them out of order.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Correct. That passes.
Motion to approve the minutes for the executive session, November 20th, 2023.
No, they,
Roll call, please.
This
hold on
is
1 second. We just did.
So moved.
We just did the executive.
No, we just
just
did
did regular.
regular. I just confirmed it was regular. You
I
said
have them
yes.
backwards.
She read it incorrectly.
On the regular minutes, 6.6I, the abstentions should say no.
Okay. So motion as amended.
as amended, yeah. I'll move.
Can I have a motion, please,
I'll
as
make it.
amended?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Are we doing that again?
No.
No, it was executive, the
Got
first
it?
one.
Yes. Roll call, please.
Oh my God.
This is Dentino. This is the regular, the executive one.
Executive?
This is executive,
We're
yes.
doing executive now, yes.
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 Ms. Dentino.
Yes.
This is Fritz.
Abstain.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch.
Yes.
Ms. Gore.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes. At this time, we're going to open the floor to public comments for agenda items only. Anyone like to speak?
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale. I have a couple of questions, so I'll try to do it with the least explanation to the most explanation. We're doing the second reading of attachment 6.3B as in boy. I have a couple of questions in regarding to the policy. Hopefully all of the board members have fully read these questions or this policy. But currently, right now, our current policy for detention, recess is not listed as an option, but now it is. Why is that? Kids need recess. Like, as bad as they may be, kids need recess because it's an outlet and it's only, what, 20 minutes at most. And of course, in the state of New Jersey, as we know, you can't withhold recess more than twice in a week. Along with lunch is currently not listed as a detention, but now it is. Why is that?
Is this on page 5?
5, yes. Towards the end, I think it was maybe page 120. And with regarding detention, I find it concerning that in the teacher enforced behaviors, that unfortunately our teachers are the ones that are having to, in a sense, deal with this, a bad word to say, but to deal with the behaviors. Our teachers have so many kids in our classrooms. So for a teacher to corrective and to make a phone call and to assign the detention and to possibly be the person doing the detention shouldn't our administration do that instead of our teachers?
You want me to speak on that?
No.
And the other thing is, well, my time keeps going. Before we put into a policy or vote on it, have you guys decided on how these detentions are going to be done? Is it going to be a teacher? Is it going to be on Tuesdays where anybody who has a detention, you know, from Thursday to Monday have to report on a Tuesday? Like, how is that happening? Nothing states it.
Okay. You are talking to the regulation 5600, correct?
Yeah, attachment 6.3B.
Well, that's all of the policies, but you're specifically talking about R 5600. So currently, there's only detentions in middle school, and that is something that has been, the structure's been put in place. And I think the answer to the question is there is a advertised and vacancy for someone to proctor those detentions that are administered by middle school teachers. There also is the option for middle school teachers, if they want to, if they are staying behind and that individual who's given the behavior, they can proctor their own detention if they so elect to do so.
Okay.
I don't know the frequency of that, but they're given the option. I would imagine that as it starts to descend into the elementary, it would be a similar structure.
Okay.
Okay?
For A3, use of inappropriate language, it says detention, parent notification, if it's abusive, wouldn't that be considered as like harassment or intimidation? Also, A28, inappropriate physical contact, says non-sexual. What would that be?
A shove. I don't know. There's probably more than one. I'm giving you an example of, you know, two students that in the hallway something goes from innocent to physical, but you know, there's a difference between, you know, physical contact and sexual physical contact, so it's somewhat defined here in the regulation.
A37, it says obscene, profane, harassing language or gestures. Wouldn't that be also constitute as a hit if somebody's harassing you? Wouldn't that be a hit?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So
wait a second.
Yeah.
Before, because
Yeah.
you also have here making racial bias, sexual harassing remarks. Wouldn't that also be a hit?
that likely would, yes.
So it's not listed.
Okay.
Also, it says immediate notification to police if in criminal in nature. Wouldn't you think that would be kind of like the first thing to be put in? A40, it says making verbal, visual, or written threats. It says first offense in school suspension, but doesn't say how many days. Also, I would think that the first thing would be that the police would be notified. And why would we have a child in school if they could possibly carry out the threat? If the first offense is in school suspension and one kid says, I'm going to kill you, then why would we put that kid in school suspension the next day for him to be in school? Or her?
So I can address the first part. Remember last month when we talked about at the top of the document before the list, the catch-all, anybody, any incident that's potentially police involvement does require police notification. So that's a catch-all at the beginning. That applies to every single part of that regulation, no matter what. So I just want to make that completely clear. So harassment, and this is a subject of how messed up the HIB law is.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, we know. So it's something that is harassment or that we would consider bullying is not necessarily the definition of harassment, intimidation, or bullying as defined by the state. So when you put those three together, it's that definition that we've talked about a few times that makes no sense at all.
But here in A44, you have harassment, intimidation, and bullying.
Yeah, it could be it's a category of offense.
So which one protects all students and which one protects the students that have a specific characteristics?
It's a good question. So when you talk about harassment, intimidation, or bullying, when it's those three words put together, there has to be a distinguishing characteristic present. The code of conduct as a whole is the backup that protects all students.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
can we
Yep, go ahead.
check with somebody else, please? Anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, we would. Okay,
Your name, please?
my name's Marissa Gatewood. And we're here on behalf of our son, Omar Jenkins, who attends this school. So the situation, what this woman said back here about the harassment or certain words that's used within the school district, the N-word. So our son currently was in a situation last week where it did get where he put hands on another child. My son is student of the month. He's what else he has? Straight A
He was
student.
just student of the month last month. He's a good kid, and the word is not just. It's been throughout the school, and he's been trying to ignore it. It's been said. He got text messages from other kids saying it through text. And what we're trying to get to is, and we spoke to the assistant principal, and she was saying that you guys are working on some type of new policy to make the consequences a little bit more severe than a lunch detention for calling the kid an N-word. And my son he has a 3-day suspension. He's kicked out of school. Like I said, he's a straight A student, and he's humiliated.
But then not only that, the child came back to school the next day, and kids are texting our son saying, oh, he said he would have did this to Omar, he would have did these things to Omar. And it goes back to when he was at Shoes Elementary, a child told him he's the color of poop. What does that mean? You know, that kid had no consequences. My daughter last year in the 3rd grade, her right here, a kid told her she's the N-word in school, and she smacked him. She got put out of school, but this kid came back to school and had lunch detention. The same thing as this woman said. My children are not going to put hands on a child based off of just because you're saying, oh, I'm ugly or your shoes are ugly. But you're not going to stand in my face and say offensive words to me. And also last year when Omar came to the school, 6th grade, he became the #1 track star in you guys' school. A teacher was giving him a compliment. Someone on the board said, oh, you're fast, like you're fast, you run from the popo.
He wasn't on the board, it was another teacher. It was
another teacher, but he was supposed to have done some things on the board.
Right.
And it was stated, oh, you're fast, so you run from the popo. What does that mean, especially being a black woman and a black man, seeing what's going on in the news every single day? That's very offensive. And other children heard it, and this is more than once Omar has been embarrassed.
It's like, how many times are we supposed to just tell him, Omar, just don't do anything, don't do. He's trying to turn like he's a good kid. He's a straight A student. He's been a straight A student. Just elected a student of the month. He was part of the street team. He does everything right, but this is just, he's suspended. Now he has this record. We just came from the police station. This is ridiculous, and it's like, this kid gets a slap on the wrist, and the policy, oh, we're going to do something. But I'm tell you, I was in 7th grade, and I had the same issue when I was in 7th grade, and I got suspended. So it's like, when is somebody going to move this needle to a point where these kids can't keep using this word because it's weaponized? Obviously, most of you guys don't know how it feels to be called that. But when we feel it, it internalizes, and it's hard to control yourself. So I try to tell my son, calm down, but he couldn't control himself.
Because it's
and
more
he
than
went too far, and he's in trouble, and we've done everything
he's cried
we
about
can.
it, and it's not fair. Then it's like when he comes back to school tomorrow, everybody's going to say, Omar, I had text messages with him basically in a group chat, all the kids joking around playing. It's this one kid that throws the word around. And he said something, and he said, why are y'all okay with him keep saying that? And he says, oh, well, everybody knows he says that. But the bottom line is, we want it to be how you guys feel. It's a zero tolerance for bullying and laying hands on people. It should be the same way as calling a black person this word, a white person that word, Hispanics, Jews, anybody. Because it's sad that the LGBT, that community, you can't walk around and freely call them any kind of names without any consequences, but it doesn't stand for me being black. And that's the problem.
And it's been a problem. But I mean, we came, this is our first time being here. We just came to address the situation because we were told this is probably the best way to take this situation to the next step. Obviously, we know it's not going to be a change overnight. Like I said, the assistant principal said that you guys are working on some type of policy to make stricter rules against the word, besides the lunch detention. You calling my son the N-word in front of the other students, and he's humiliated, he gets some lunch detention. And then you guys tell him, well, go tell the teacher, Omar. But the kid's going to deny it anyway. So it's like, he's denying it now. So it's like, what is the point in telling, because you know you're not going to get any repercussion for it anyway. So it's just like, what are we supposed to do? You know, I don't want my son having this record now. I see you guys giving these awards. My kid, he deserves these awards too. And now he has this stain where everybody knows, oh, he's the kid that fights. His hand is broke now. It's just a whole big mess over a word that this word is just like weaponized. And it's like, when are we going to have some type of, I don't know.
And just tell my son, makes him feel the way to tell him as an adult, you could have handled that better. No, I feel like he handled it. I don't condone bullying at all, but how are you going to tell me how I should feel when somebody blatantly says that and then you go back to your seat and you just smile and laugh in my face?
Okay.
That's just like, whatever.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. You will be hearing from someone.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dina?
Dina Hendry, continue again with this attachment 63B. Currently right now, if there was any hitting, punching, fighting, right now it's 3 days and police contact. But with the new policy that the board is proposing, there is no police contact. Why is that?
Dina, there's police contact every
I
single.
know, but it's not listed.
It is. It's at the top of the document.
No, but it's not. But the thing is, there's some here where it says it's listed, right? Some boxes says it's listed, and some boxes isn't listed. And if you're the type of person that is looking through and seeing, you want to make sure that you see. Parents are not going to read the top. They're reading the boxes. All right. So here you have, you know, police intervention, police contact for possessing a weapon. It says it here in this box, but it doesn't say it in this box. So either A, you have it all in the same box in uniform, or you don't have it. That's where it is. There's no consistency in what says police contact and what doesn't. Yes, I do see that it says if something happens, it is a blanket. But the problem is it has to be specific, not a blanket.
Okay.
You know?
I'm confused.
You're confused. So for instance,
You mentioned fighting.
Uh-huh.
I'm staring at fighting here, A42 and A43.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm looking at the consequence. I see police in both boxes. Is it listed there?
It says
in
immediate
your version?
notification to police for any offense, first or subsequent, if there's an injury. So there has to be an injury for the police to be called?
That is the preference of the Gloucester Township Police
But
Department.
right
yes.
now, currently, the police are called regardless whether there's an injury or not.
I understand. And similar to how busy teachers are and administrators are, so are the Gloucester Township Police Department. And if there's a minor infraction and no one's hurt, they specifically don't want those type of calls.
They don't want to be notified if a kid, there's a fight?
They have reviewed this document in your hand as is, and they have given information back to the district's policy committee, and in any case that the police wanted to be notified, and they have increased the number of times they wanted to be notified, this is what they have asked for and the policy committee's agreed to. And in fighting, in 2 occasions, it says they're going to be notified.
Okay, so your first offense.
So if there's a fight and no one's hurt, you want the police called anyway?
I want it to be on record.
I disagree with that.
If my kid got into a fight, you don't think I want the police to be called in for it to be on a record?
That you have the prerogative as a resident to do that, but if it is a minor fight, it gets stopped immediately by, say, a teacher, okay, should the police be called out for that?
But what is a minor fight?
Aren't they busy too?
But what is a minor fight? The next question I have.
That's an administrator's decision. And also help from teachers. Adults will help them form what happened in that particular skirmish. But every single fight, we cannot just call 911 on.
It's not 911 though, it's the SRO.
It was a metaphor.
So your first offense for fighting right now is 3 days. Your first offense now is either in or out of school suspension, but it doesn't list how many days. The second offense is up to 3 days. So there's a lot of leeway. There's nothing definitive. The next question I have is 852. Your first offense is suspension up to 3 days, parent conference. and possible police contact. Why is this possible? As it's listed. I mean, if a kid is vandalizing your property and the community's property, wouldn't you want to make sure that it's being dealt with properly?
Vandalism, trespassing.
Yeah, those are criminal offenses.
Okay.
Those should be police offenses.
No.
Those are criminal offenses. That's fine.
Print out the new one.
Yeah, and look, we can keep evolving it. That's
I
true.
mean, it's pretty much the
They
same.
look at it every
though.
year.
I mean,
Yeah, we look at it every month.
Whatever the police reviewed and changed.
I just think that we've gone, currently what our current code of conduct is, it is very laid out how it is. And now what it is pretty generalized, and I'm just asking why the change?
Well, I would say that this document has probably been the one policy that's had the most transparency, the most groups looking at it. So at its origin, the policy committee of the board took a look at different K-8 policies. And it first started with one that they said this is a good starting point. That led to the board looking at it, the committee looking at it. That led to teacher groups being invited in, administrative groups being brought in, police groups being brought in. And then it continued to evolve and be revised. Then there was a little bit of setback from the New Jersey Attorney General, who said you have to be very careful of certain things that Mr. Long could probably speak of. And so it took a pause. It actually went to Mr. Long to make sure that we weren't being inequitable in our punishments towards gender, towards race, and he kind of filtered that along with Mr. Cho to make sure it was a fair document. Then, once that got past Mr. Long's scrutiny, it went back to the administration. I've met recently again with the teachers. So I'm just giving you the context of how many people have looked at this document and have adjusted it before it has come in front of the board for final review.
And not to mention,
approval.
right, you still are going to exist next year. You can always tweak policies, always. And we can see what works, what doesn't. Just
Sure.
It's a living,
If
breathing
something
document.
isn't working
Absolutely.
or something is working, we want to know that.
And look, I think mostly everyone's back next year, so I think
All right,
we can
one more
continue.
thing.
Yeah,
One more thing.
sure.
Superintendent's report, letter M, I believe. You have somebody who's being trained at $60 an hour. Is that an outside person coming to do the training, or is that a staff member doing it?
It's internal.
So say for instance, a new hire comes in and somebody who has experience in doing that job, they train them and they get paid for their training?
I don't know how much of the I think it does say training transition, doesn't it?
Yeah, and $60 an hour.
Does it say transition?
Yeah, he's not.
Okay, so I think
That's
most
why.
of the time spent, which are very limited hours, would be part of the transition administratively.
So that
In lieu
person
of
gets
training,
paid.
in lieu of, like, say, training. And I can't give you the scope, it's 2 hours training and 4 transition, but they are very, very limited hours that we're talking about.
Okay, and one last question. Who is Brett Devani and Associates?
Brett Denovi?
Sure.
Brett Denovi is a vendor the Board of Education uses to support students that have special needs, and they have IEPs, and they have certain supports that the district is had a very, very difficult time to acquire and have on staff, so we resource it out.
So they currently pay their people like $20 an hour, but we pay like a temp service even more, correct? What is the rate of that?
I don't know right now.
It's way
Does
more than
anybody
that.
know what the rate of
It's
it
like
is?
$75 an hour. It's way more than that.
So Brett pays, I mean, I'm guessing his name is Brett. Brett pays his people $25 an hour to come and help us out. But we pay Brett $75, so he makes $50 off of us.
Well, that's not totally true. I'm sure there's insurance involved, there's taxes involved, there's a lot more than the flat rate, just
So
the
we
hourly
couldn't
rate.
find people to do this job or pay
been trying.
people?
We've been trying.
The board has
We've
the
had
range
plenty,
of job
yeah.
descriptions, has advertised for that, has increased the rate to be competitive with the rates that the outside vendors are
Do
bringing
you
in.
have like an agreement that you can have like a temp to hire?
I actually think that contracts prevent us from taking the opposite. They don't want us stealing their staff members.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, that portion is now closed. Mr. Long, report of the solicitor.
Yes, thank you. Just very briefly, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. My items were discussed in executive session, but I would be remiss not to recognize Mrs. Reese at her final meeting tonight. Ellen, as I've told you, you've been here. You've been here as long as I have. Probably longer. And I just want to say that, when you're 18, I think, right, years on the board, while you're leaving us tonight, your impact will outlast every single person in this room, and I hope you know that. And thank you on behalf of everyone in Gloucester Township for everything you have done for this district over the last 18 years. And that's all I have.
Mr. Bilodeau, report of the superintendent, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, members of the board, members of the public, good evening again.
I can't wait for Jen's speech. If you're not, what am I meeting? We're having a party too. I'm waiting to hear my speech. I'm going to talk about every single one.
Under 6.1, recently, well, a good several weeks ago, Mr. Tro took it upon himself to respond to an opportunity from the New Jersey Department of Education. And typically, Mr. Tro has a great deal of resources surrounding him, supporting him. But in this particular endeavor, he did it on his own. And this was a specific focus on tutoring for elementary students. And I'm pleased to report that Mr. Tro's efforts have resulted in the district being awarded a $600,000 grant. So Mr. Tro, I commend you for that work, and I know that you wanted to speak briefly about what this tutoring will mean to our students. So Tim?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Bilodeau, board, for the opportunity. As always, whenever I get ready to make a presentation, people say, how long are you going to be? I don't know. I can't seem to shake some of that. So I will try to move quickly through, just to give a little bit of an overview of the high impact tutoring grant, what it is, how it came about, and what our program is going to look like, and a little bit of why it's going to look the way it does. So when the Department of Education put out this competitive grant, it was basically, there's a lot of words here, but I tried to highlight the key pieces. It was designed to deal with students who were disproportionately affected by the pandemic. It was primarily focused on grades 3 and 4, and they identified, in addition to possibly being able to use the district staff, there was a high focus on identifying vendors or organizations to provide the tutoring, and I'll explain a little bit why they talked about that and why they were encouraging the use of vendors to do some of this based on the research-based criteria. And so one of the reasons we looked at it was an undeniable need that we had. We currently have, with our intervention staff, we service approximately 15 to 20% of our students through what we call tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, where they'll go out 3 or even 6, even daily, for half-hour sessions with the interventionists. And so we're able to intervene with 15 to 20%. Well, if you look back at our NJSLA scores from last spring, we only have about 40% of our students in elementary school currently that are working at passing that grade level test. So at least 60% of our students not meeting the grade level standard in grades 3 through 5. So you can see a gap there with what we're able to do versus what in some ways you could argue the need is. And so they're not getting that, and we have a bit of a capacity issue. Currently, we don't have staff available to work in small groups with students during the school day. We do a lot of that after school, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But one of our issues, my initial thought was, well, let's come up with some sort of hybrid plan. Let's expand our after-school programs. Our issues are we can't transport them, and that starts getting into the way of if we had additional students on additional days, which I'll explain again why we need the additional days. We currently do usually 2 days a week of after-school programs when we start running our after-school programs, and that just wasn't going to work for the grant, and we didn't have the capacity to transport them. And if we rely on parent transportation, we're going to have issues in getting regular attendance at the events. So these were the things that our program was going to be based on. These are research-based practices that the Department of Education identified that support what high-impact tutoring is. So I highlight, there's a lot of things there. I underline the most important things. They wanted at least 3 sessions per week. They preferred school day programs, things happening during the school day. And the size of the groups could be no more than 3 students per group in order to qualify for the grant. So we were eligible for up to $215,000. And really, in order to have it during the school day, groups less than 3 students, meeting 3 times per week, we really needed to do what they were suggesting, which was go to an outside vendor. And then we identified, after talking with some of the vendors, we were going to target at least grades 3 through 5. So there's grades 3 and 4 were the target of the grant, but we were going to do 3 through 5, and we might be able to extend beyond that, depending on the circumstances in each building and with the number of tutors that we're able to get. And so our plan was to try to get at least 1 tutor per homeroom so that we could service the greatest number of students possible, and that's going to be between 37 and 39 tutors is the target that we have, which would allow us to serve around 333 students in grades 3 through 5, possibly more, if we can do some other grades, if all tutoring positions are filled. I'm putting a big if because we know there's staffing issues out there, and frankly, that's probably my largest concern is whether or not even the vendors can supply people to fill all of those positions. And our program plan is to have those students tutored during the intervention block. So we currently have, during our intervention enrichment block, we have kids that leave for gifted and talented programs. They leave for Tier 2 and Tier 3 academic interventions. The classroom teacher will provide additional support during that time. And then basically what this allows us to do is during that time when other students are getting support, we can identify students that don't currently get intervention but aren't working up to grade level standards to get additional support 3 times a week. And basically, we ended up hiring New Jersey, contracting with the New Jersey Tutoring Corps. I want to give a shout out to the business department. We're ahead of most districts because they recognized early that we were going to have to go through a competitive bid process. So even before we got the grant, we posted, so that once we got the notification of the grant award, we were able to then turn around, and last month the board was able to award the contract, and many districts haven't even awarded their contract yet. Not that we're still running like a freight train forward, there's a lot of hurdles to go over, but we would be even further behind if our business office hadn't helped us negotiate all of that, and our purchasing department, Pat and Nerva, was a huge support with that. So New Jersey Tutoring Corps is trying to hire, train staff, and the plan is for each site to have a supervisory individual from New Jersey Tutoring Corps to work closely with the tutors. Some of the tutors might be retired educators, they might be pre-service educators, they might be people that are still looking for employment, although sometimes you wonder if there's anybody out there still looking for employment. And they could be people with paraprofessional certification. And so they work closely under the supervision of the staff there that are going to work collaboratively with our administrative team to help them plan their lessons based on assessments that they get, like our STAR assessment that we give. They will use those to identify weaknesses and develop individual plans for students and small groups of students. So this FAQ, I sort of answered some of these already. Why not district staff? We were really planning on, initially my plan was to try to use district staff as much as possible, but when you looked at the qualifications that are there and the fact that we already are extending our district staff with after-school programs with the ESSER money already anyway, and the fact that we can't necessarily use our district staff during the day when they're already contracted and working here, that we really needed to go with this outside contractor, which kind of answers question 2 as well. And our goal is to try to start the program in early January. Frankly, based on the staffing situation we're in now, we might do more of a rolling start, where we might start in a handful of schools or less, depending on how many people they actually have hired and ready to go in January. And then we'll start adding as we're able to add staff. Is a little bit of what we're looking, and we're meeting regularly with them to update, with the progress with that. Summary: it's a grant provided, a unique opportunity to address these learning gaps brought on by the pandemic, and it's in a way that the district just couldn't address this on our own. It's a creative way of supplementing the great work already done by ourselves with this short-term injection of support that will help move students closer to grade level, lower that number of students that are working below grade level to where our district staff, when this grant runs out, are able to kind of pick up and make it a little bit easier for them to pick up and move more students towards proficiency through the great programs and instruction that they're able to provide daily. So that is my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Okay, continuing on. If I could have a consent resolution for item 6.2A to 6.6 N as in Nancy.
Is there any questions?
Well, we got to
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion, please.
So moved. Need a second?
Who seconded it?
Yep, Ellen.
Ellen was second.
Linda Ellen.
Any questions?
I do.
Okay.
6.62. It's the fire and security drills. I brought this up before. Is there any way that we can get this, that I am not approving something that already happened? I know the weather sometimes is a deterrent, but is there any way we can align this better? These all happened in November.
Okay, do you want to have their forecasted, approve their forecasted?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that because you'd have to do
But
that.
I'm approving something that already happened, and this is a pet peeve of mine.
I hear you. It's something as a matter of course that gets reported to you just so you know that they are being done.
Yeah.
The issue is, Linda, with approving them in advance, then people will know that they're happening, and that the whole point of the drill is to do that.
Well, even if we get the fire,
right.
I mean, even if the staff knows that there's fire drills, right?
I heard about that last week on one of them.
All right. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I just, I know we're not supposed to know, but it's just annoying.
You're right.
All right, 6.6B. Are these guidance secretaries at Glen Landing and CW Lewis, are they 10-month? Are they part-time? Are they 12-month?
That would be 10 months minimum salary.
10.
They're 10-month?
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Jones. 10 months.
All right. I hate to be this way, but what is the difference between the receptionist at the administration building, their responsibilities versus guidance for the amount of salary?
You got to be careful what you say. The answer is
I honestly, I think the duties may differ. I don't have either one of the job descriptions. I believe they do differ.
Could I get a job description from the guidance, for the guidance counselor, secretary?
Sure.
All right. That's all on that one.
Anyone else? I have a discussion item, please. This is in reference to item 6.3C for policy 7510, use of school facilities. Current policy reads, this prohibition included any type of local election, i.e. township, school board, fire station, etc. And the policy up for vote tonight would state excludes school board elections. one of our goals is to be more transparent. Why would we put up a wall to prohibit a forum for the school board election? I attend Council of Schools meetings where our parent groups tell us how they hold candy bar bingo, designer bag bingo, and other things in our schools, but we are prohibiting them from holding a forum. We have several board members that have gone over and above their duties here to gain certifications such as Master Board Member and Certified Board Leaders. Why wouldn't they want the public to know that? Taxes are high here in Gloucester Township. More than 40% of your taxes comes right here. Why wouldn't the public want to know who is spending their money? As I said, people don't vote for school board members because they have no idea who we are. This policy change doesn't mean that a forum must be held. It doesn't say that those running must attend. This change only allows the opportunity to hold a forum as done by most districts around. Anyone else? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please? We did motion.
Yeah, roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dentino.
I'm a no on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
6.3C, yes on the balance. Mrs. Fritz.
No on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
Mr. Givens.
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch.
No on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
Ms. Gore.
No on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
Mr. Marks.
No on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
Mrs. Reese.
No on 6.3C, yes on the balance.
Mrs. O'Donnell.
I am abstaining on 6.6G, number 3746. Yes on the balance.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
6.3C did not pass.
Correct.
We have the report of the business administrator, please, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Mr. Johnson, I'm asking for the board's approval on 7.1 through 7.7, I don't know the exact number, 7.7G.
C, it actually is G on here, but it's
Oh, yeah, it's C.
ADG.
Oh,
G. Here, it's C.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions?
I do. Sorry.
Don't be.
7.3 on the bill list. I don't want to see any child without any, what's the word I'm looking for? Services. Thank you. But I am getting really, really upset about this, the bills from Brett Denuvi. I don't understand why we're spending this much money month after month and we can't find anybody. Other districts have found people and we're using an outside service and it's costing us buku money. I don't want to see any children without services. I have not voted on this check before. I don't understand why we can't find anybody, and yet he has all these people that we're using, but we can't find anybody. I just don't understand the amount of money we're spending, and I think we need to look further, in my opinion, and try to find somebody, even if we have to pay them a little bit more money, because the money we're spending is crazy. And I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, if anybody else would like to say anything.
I agree.
But it's out of control right now, and I understand we have children that need services, and I don't begrudge any of those children services whatsoever. I have a special needs nephew in my family. But the amount of money we're spending, I don't understand why we can't find somebody, pay them a higher salary, and be done with this bill. So I don't know if anybody else wants to join in on my soapbox here.
We've all been saying it, Ms. Gilch. We've gone over it quite a few times in special services meeting. I know recently we had a job posting for something, and I think only 3 people applied, and only one of them was even qualified. So I don't know why the other 2 applied, but I think we did discuss, we had raised salaries. I think we were looking to look at that again, but we can't do that till after the new board is seated. But we've been trying to, but
we can't.
Other school districts find people, and I don't understand why
applicants. We have to
can't.
identify what the problem is, why we're not getting them.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we have to identify.
We kind of know we have an uphill battle with that, and I agree. I think after the new year, we need to look a little harder into how and why we can get some more people on our
salary and benefits.
Or maybe training people.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're spending all this money, and I think the salaries that we could spend here would save us money with all this money that we're putting in.
I vote no on it every single month.
And I usually do.
I actually had to change my vote to yes
and I
one time because it didn't pass. And
because I didn't want people to think that I didn't want anybody to have services. That is not the case.
Yeah.
And I understand we have a large population, but we need to do something here.
Absolutely.
And we need to do it after the new year and figure out where we need to go and what road we need to go down.
We've been going over it all year.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dentino.
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz.
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
To voice my opinion on that same topic, I vote no on check 131657. Yes on the balance.
Thank you. Mrs. Gilch.
Yes.
Ms. Gore.
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Ms. O'Donnell.
I am abstaining on check 131676, 131818. I'm a no on 131801, 131848, and 131657. Yes on the balance.
There were no on those 3 checks?
Yes.
Okay.
And then yes on the balance.
Mrs. Johnson.
Abstain on check number 131664, 131750, and no on 131848. Yes on the balance.
That motion passes.
Okay. Any old business, Mr. Bilodeau?
No.
Any new business?
Yes. I did want to take the opportunity to thank the board's policy committee and the members of the Principals and Supervisors Association and the members of the Gloucester Township Education Association and the Gloucester Township Police Department for their efforts in regard to Regulation 5600, which is now going to be in effect. I do also want to acknowledge, under new business instead of old, the new canvas for Mrs. Reese. Ellen, it seems as though you're one of those great balls that bounces back to us, and it's been great that you came back onto the board after so many years of great service before. You are certainly even-keeled, fair-minded, and I think always have the kids and families at your heart. So I wish you the best in your new business ahead of you in the new year. Okay, so how about one more round of applause for Mrs. Reese? And other than that, Mrs. Johnson, I wish everyone here and anyone listening, Mr. Wells, make sure you get it, the greatest of holidays and the best of New Year's. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now at this time, we open the floor to public comments on any item item. Yes, your name, please.
Hold on one second. Let me get my notes. Kelly Rutter, Blackwood, a member of the DTA and a teacher at JWL. First and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us teachers and our building principals to work collaboratively with the Board of Education to develop a code of conduct for our district. Thank you to the Policy Committee and specifically Mr. Gibbons for considering our input and expertise. It's nice to know that we can work together on a common goal for our students and schools. All right. I'm here tonight once again to ask about the printing of report cards. Well, I know I brought this up during several meetings. I'm bringing this up to you once again. I am 42 years old and a lifelong resident of Gloucester Township. I grew up in the same neighborhood where my husband and I are now raising our children. I still have many of my own old report cards. They hold value to me. As a student, I was always eager to see my report card, and I especially loved reading the comments from my teachers. I could see in their comments how much they cared about my success through their praises and their comments documenting where improvement was needed. My parents would read over the report cards with me and they were hung on the refrigerator. My report cards were a motivation to me to improve in all areas of schools. These documents are meaningful to me throughout my educational career. As a teacher, I try to write meaningful comments highlighting where each student is succeeding and any areas of improvement. It is sad to me that my students and their parents oftentimes do not see what I have written each marking period. Parents and guardians are also not seeing the cumulative absences, tardies, behavioral comments, or improvements, or academic concerns or growth. At the last meeting, when I asked about the feasibility of printing report cards, Mr. Tro stated that he had a plan and would be sharing it with building administrators at the principals meeting. We all received an email on November 20th detailing the plan that would be in place moving forward. Report cards will remain available digital only. However, buildings will identify parents who do not view and/or have students who are at risk for failing and provide a paper copy of the report, as well as communicate through phone or in-person conference about the progress of the child. Note, these are case-by-case basis and not a mass printing of report cards. During parent-teacher conferences, I reminded parents about the parent portal and that the final report card would be available for viewing on 11/22. Many parents questioned why report cards were not being printed once again since COVID is now over. I decided on my own to do some research. On December 1st, things may have changed slightly. I started with viewing the verification report from my class and noticed only 7 out of 24 report cards were verified. This was 10 days after report cards were posted, after several reminders from the building administrators through email and all calls, and I also sent out emails to remind parents that they were available on the portal. I then reached out to each building asking if they could provide any information in regards to how many report cards were verified by parents. I put all the data together. I'm a math person, so I like data and numbers, and found out that out of a total of 6,541 students in our district, 2,146, 32.81%, less than a third, report cards were not verified by parents. They were not. Oh, they were. Yes, were verified. That means 4,395 report cards were not verified by parents. Following up with phone calls and/or in-person conferences is not feasible when we're talking about over 67%, 4,395 of our students with unverified report cards. If we spent minimally 5 minutes on the phone with each of those parents, that would be 66.25 hours, or about 15 days worth of phone calls. I believe as educators and administrators, our time is better spent with our students, planning thoughtful lessons, building relationships with our students, and paperwork, grading, papers, etc. I have also learned that Black Horse Pike prints and mails each student's report card. I asked today that as a Board of Ed, we could please look at this data a bit more and consider going back to printing report cards with the envelope for parents assigned. I, along with many other educators and parents, feel as though keeping this current plan in place, we are doing our students and families a huge disservice. As a district, we find value in printing and mailing home NJSLA reports, yet we do not see the value in printing report cards. And then I just was curious, is there a reason why we are continuing to follow this protocol, where they're only accessible on the portal.
Kelly, can I ask you, you said verify. Does that mean that they have to do something or they just opened it to see
So
it?
when they go on the parent portal, there's a checkbox, so they would have to check that they've seen the report card.
They've seen it, but could it be that they're not seeing that?
Possibly, but we don't know. I
Right.
mean, I can go on and see when my parents have logged on,
Uh-huh.
and I have parents who have not logged on yet this year.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
that's
thanks.
just one of my concerns.
Anyone else?
Liz Johnson, Blackwood, teacher, long time. I just want to comment on the Brett Kenobi thing, being in special education most of my career. I've had many aides that have come through my classroom, and they've been not very qualified because they were a board member's mother or something, and they're elderly, or they really can't help out. So I've had parents just from the community. I've had all kinds of people. I've had special ed students themselves that went through the program in Gloucester Township and then came back as an aide in the classroom to work with special ed students. And in all of those, and now I see the trend being Brett Kenobi, and I know they're very expensive, but I can say they are the most qualified people who have ever worked with kiddos with special needs. They've kept kids in classrooms in our township instead of having to go out of district. They have allowed them to be in inclusive classrooms, so kids are spending more time not in a self-contained room, but in general education with their peers because of the help of Brett Kenobi. Or some of the other agencies that we use too. I don't know if it's because they have better training, they get a better benefits payment package through them, it's a more secure kind of lifestyle, but I just wanted to comment because you brought that up, and I know it's a lot of money, but I think as a teacher and seeing these kids in the classroom, I think it's worth it. So as you look at that and analyze it, all of you, I just continue to ask, how much would have to sending that child out of district cost versus keeping Brett Kenobi and keeping these kids in and keeping them successful in inclusion classrooms here? So that's what I just wanted to comment. I agree with all of that as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm McBride, GTEA president. You mentioned 6.6C, 6.3C. It's not in this policy package. It's not just available online. 6.3C. 7510.
Well,
I don't have it, but I just haven't had time to look at it online. Is there a reason why it wasn't printed for our viewing eyes?
Is it because it was an
It's the use of facilities policy, no.
No. Wasn't
I
that
don't
on?
know. I have it here. I can send you one
No,
tomorrow.
if it's online, I can look at it online. I just haven't had an opportunity to view it online.
If I don't hear from you, I'm assuming you have it then. If you don't, we'll have a pleasant talk tomorrow. Thank you, Patty.
Anyone else? Seeing none, public portion is closed. Any board member comments?
You're last.
You're last.
You're last.
You're
Yes.
last.
I'll go first.
I'm going home.
No, you're not.
Stop.
Because this is hard enough for me.
Stop. Stop. I'll call you once a week instead of every day. It's fine.
I just want to thank Ellen for her services. It's hard. She's a great board member. She had the kids' best interest at heart, and we're losing a good board member. And I just want to thank her for all her years of service and all she's provided.
Thank you. It's fun. We're good.
So I just want to thank her because it's a big void in this board.
Anyone else?
I wasn't going to. I'm good.
Anyone else?
I do.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to wish Alan nothing but the best. I would like to thank you for the time that we've had together on the board. You were one of my top phone calls when I needed advice, when I needed help. You always told me yes. You never said, well, why me? And I appreciate you for that. I wish you nothing but the best in all your vacation and moving forward. And good luck. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Anyone?
I have a few things. I'll take my glasses off. I wanted to congratulate all the STAR students, wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a great New Year. I'd like to also congratulate our Christmas card winner, Cianelli Colon. I don't want to mispronounce her name. Cologne. Okay. Thank Ellen for her service. When I first got on the board, I always told her that she had took me under her wing, gave me a lot of information, and a lot of stuff that I had learned when I first got on was from her help. For Ms. Rudder, I'm all for report cards. I think in today's world, phones, computers, everything is so fast-paced, and I think to like slow down a little, parents need to see that so that the parents are in their lives and know what you guys are doing is, getting through to them, and if they need help, they can help them, or also celebrate the good stuff that they say. I used to love to see my report cards, except when I got certain things circled in red for like bad, but. And I'd like to thank Ms. Johnson for coming out. We go over a lot of stuff in special services, and your insight on the Brett DeNovi stuff I think was really helpful, so I appreciate you coming out for that. And I think that's it.
Anyone else?
I'd like to thank Ellen for her service as well. I obviously haven't been on the board with her as long as other people here, but you've been around, and thank you for that. I also wanted to congratulate the STAR students. And actually, Mr. Wells had mentioned that he was looking for microphones, and I was going to bring that up, that we had children here struggling to even be heard, in a crowd, and I look forward to those microphones coming so people can hear, what goes on. The 5600 policy regulation, I know there was questions about it, but I'm very happy that there was so much input that we had from this, and questions that you brought up were also brought up, and there was very valid reasons of why different things happen, and I think there was not a voice in the entire community that was not heard and put into that policy, and I'm happy about that. So, the report cards as well, I echo that, and I really would like to understand why we are not implementing it after being asked over and over. I attended math night the other night in Ariel, which was a really cool experience there, and really cute with those kids and getting them involved with math. Happy Festivus, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Want to air some grievances?
Yeah.
Mrs. Johnson, I would like to also recognize the kids that were here tonight. There is nothing better than watching the principals show off their kids' talents, and there was certainly a lot of talent tonight. I also wanted to thank the policy committee for the hard work that they did. Not only that, Mr. Bilodeau, your secretary, the work that she did on it as well in communication with me. It did go back and forth and rounds, so I appreciate the work that went into that. Mrs. Reese, I want to thank you for your service. The board is better with you on it. You bring the knowledge, you bring the memory, you bring the receipts when needed, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for your service. Happy holidays to everyone.
I would like to thank my fellow board members for putting up with me this year. Thank you, Mrs. Reese. For your years on the board, you will be missed. I'd like to congratulate the 4th grade at Union Valley, the 4th graders that did a show. I got to see that. I got to see the Gloucester Township Choir. I did some rapping at Lewis School. And congratulations to the STAR students. And I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year, and enjoy the break.
Mr. Johnson, W-R-A-P-P-I-N-G or R-A-P-P?
I would have paid good money to see that.
Okay. I would just like to thank all the board members I've worked with over the years, 3 superintendents. I'm not aging myself, but back to Bob Sussman. So I'll never forget the first time Linda and I got elected. We walked into the board office and he sat policy books yay high. and said, and we looked at him and he said, this is what you're here for. These are your policies. This is your job. And I said, do we have to memorize all this? And over the years, you know what? We've learned a lot. We learned a lot that was in those books, and it's been tweaked, and I'm very glad that that policy, we started that policy that was passed tonight back in May. And it was the most included group of this community that I've ever seen. So I'm thankful that we were able to finalize that before I was sitting on your side. But I truly feel like I formed a partnership and a friendship with many, many people and staff members over the years. And I appreciate that, and it's something I'll hold in my heart forever. So I do wish you all well. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and I'm sure we will not parting ways. I will see you around. So thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Go Birds.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Out. Aye.
This meeting is closed.
All right.